Okay, all of these cars have just sold, and so many of them for absolute bargain prices. So how about we show you how to get behind the wheel of something like all of these and potentially save yourself a small fortune. So where are we exactly? Well, a little while ago, we were invited along to one of Manheim's auctions, which is one of a handful of auction houses in Australia doing frequent large-scale auctions. Now, Manheim runs public auctions in Queensland, New South Wales, and Victoria, as well as online simulcasts. Now, it is worth mentioning, this is not a paid promotion for Manheim in any way, shape or form. They simply invited us down to check out an auction. We've never been to an auction. We've always been fascinated about what goes on there, what it's like to buy a car there, and we figured you're probably thinking the same thing. So why not go down and see what the hell goes on? Now, every week, Manheim funnels hundreds of cars through multiple auction lanes, full of people trying to snatch up a bargain. But who are these people? Who's buying the cars? Is it mainly dealers or is it mainly first-time car buyers? Like, what is the audience?
It's a huge audience. There is literally something here for everyone. Yep. We will literally sell cars for $500.
Yep.
Buyer beware.
Yep.
But we do sell them for $500. But yes, there is a trade element to our buyers. They're probably the largest portion of our buyers. Mum and dad that are buying a family car, an SUV, mum and dad that are buying, you know, a wagon or a 7-seat car, first car buyers, young girls, young guys.
Yep.
There's literally something for everyone in the auction.
One of the most eye-opening things about the auctions was just the sheer scale of it. It's a fascinating thing to watch a literal sea of cars pumped through the auction in just a couple of hours. And what's in this sea of cars? Honestly, everything. There are family cars, small cars, utes, ex-mining vehicles, four-wheel drives, people movers, performance cars, prestige stuff, and more white goods Toyotas than you could possibly imagine. Plus the cars range from as young as just 18 months old to ones well over 20 years old. And when we put it out to you guys about what you wanted to know about the whole buying a car at auction process, one of the big questions was, where do all of these cars come from in the first place?
So we get cars from all over. So you would have seen 4 lanes today of vehicles. The first lane is mostly the younger stuff, leasing companies, government fleets like councils, finance repossessions, all manner of business fleets. And often these are vehicles that still have a bit of manufacturer warranty left. They might only be a few years old, low Ks, often well looked after. And then we've got commercial vehicles in lane 2 that have similar clients and similar sources. But then as you move towards the older vehicles, you start to get, often dealers will have too many trade-ins and they can't put all of them on their lot, so they'll send us some to sell. Our parent company also runs a car buying service called Sell My Car. So we actually directly buy cars off the public and then sell them here as well, often the older vehicles. So it's a really broad, diverse source of vehicles. We also sell vehicles on behalf of car manufacturers, OEMs. Often they're dealer-only auctions and not available to the public, and sometimes they are. And it's really key for us to have as many sources of vehicles as we can. And that way, you know, when there are changes in the market, you're quite well covered because you've got the security of having a really diverse base of vehicles coming in.
Yeah, I think that's what I noticed today. Like, you've got everything from cars going for $500, $900 through to some really, you know, S-Class Mercedes and stuff. There's a huge spread there. I've
seen so many amazing cars from, like SL63s that are 6-month-old, you know, supercars, high-end. I mean, you would have seen an S-Class going through today, and then all the way through to the, you know, $500, $1,000, you know, real entry-level vehicles that maybe if you're a mechanic you might buy to fix it up. You might have a plan around it. It's an incredibly broad spectrum, and also segments too. So, you know, vans and utes are in one lane, SUVs, wagons, sports cars. Like, we sort of try to cover the entire spectrum if we can.
Mate, talk us through I suppose the advantages with like an ex-government fleet vehicle or an ex-lease vehicle.
Yeah, look, I mean, typically speaking, the government vehicles are a really good bet. You know, up in Queensland, for example, we have a contract with Q Fleet, so we're the exclusive reseller of government vehicles. In Victoria, it's a bit more of a mix, but we have a lot of government vehicles coming through. Often they are lower kilometre, often they are younger with the balance of warranty left. They've generally been pretty well maintained. It's not to say that there aren't going to be excellent lease cars and ex-business fleet vehicles that are also coming through. But yeah, I would say that the government vehicles vehicles are probably, right up there with the best that we do offer.
Yep.
That being said, the government, they're not buying a huge spectrum of cars either. It's usually a RAV4 or an Outlander or an Outback or something like that. They're not going to be buying rare, unique, niche vehicles as much.
Yeah.
But if you just want a sort of simple, reliable, fairly common vehicle, then yeah, the ex-Gov cars are a really great place to start.
Is there any way of finding out exactly where the car came from? So, for example, if it's been repossessed or if it's an ex-fleet vehicle, that information's available?
We put it in the catalogue.
Oh, great.
So every single lot number, it'll say lease vehicle, it'll say finance repossession, it'll say government council,
Awesome.
etc., etc., etc. So you know exactly where it's come from. We make the service books available to everyone as well. So you can go in there, it'll show you the previous owner, it'll say Telstra Corporation.
Great.
And then you can see all of your service history and where it's been done.
I think that's one thing that shocked me a little bit is just how transparent it is, because I think I came into this thinking most of these cars are going to be dodgy, there's going to be no service history. How do you find out where have they even come from? But I'm really surprised at just how transparent this whole process is. Okay, it's time for another Wipertech challenge. Will it wipe? Today's victim, pumpkin soup. Now, before we see how they wipe, Wipertech wiper blades are so easy to order online. They're a breeze to fit, and if you order a set via the link, you're going to get 15% off and free express shipping. Let's see if they wipe. Okay, up next, this is going to be a gross one. Pumpkin soup. Here we bloody go. Oh, God. Yep, go for it. You bastard. It's done a good job at spraying me. So if Wipertech blades can handle that, surely they can handle anything that you're going to throw at them. Get yourself a set today. Okay, something that is really important to mention here is that there are some very, very ordinary cars at these auctions. So sometimes you can have your work cut out for you if you're hunting for a bargain. But this actually brings us to one of your biggest concerns, which was, can you inspect these cars before you go bidding on them? Obviously, the cars are open, you can get in them, but mechanically, can you bring someone along to inspect it? Can you get underneath? Or is there, what's the process there?
So yes and no. So you can bring anyone you like during the week, like an RACV inspector or whoever it may be, a friend who knows their way around cars. You can open the bonnet up, you can have a look inside. You can't put it up on a hoist. We can't do a full mechanical inspection. That's just a product of having, thousands of cars coming through. It's really mostly just an issue from scale. If you want to hear the car running, you're best to come to the auction itself. The cars will be running for a little while before they go through the lanes, and you can listen to them through the lanes and inspect them that way. Yep. But yeah, if you know someone who you trust to have a look at the car and kick the tyres for you, they're more than welcome. Some have been looked after immaculately, full service histories, they've been babied, they've been someone's pride and joy. Yes, there are others that come through that may have an incomplete service history. That'll always be clearly communicated, and for us, transparency is key. So cars come with full condition reports that it's based on the panel and paint and the interior situation. If there's any engine lights on, that'll be flagged. If there's an incomplete service history, that'll be flagged. Yep. And as we always say, just do your diligence, do your homework, make sure that you're reading all of the information that we're providing with the vehicle. Come and have a look at it if you can, and that way you're sort of mitigating against any potential snags.
Amazing. Let's say some snags do pop up, you drive the car off the lot, and then a couple of days later it goes bang. Is there any recourse as far as warranty or returning it or anything like that? Yeah,
so we're covered by Australian consumer law at a top level. So of course there are certain legal requirements that we of course honour, and we're bound by all of those ACL provisions. We do look at it on a case-by-case basis. Yep. So we would encourage anyone who has a bad experience, if the vehicle isn't what was promised, if they feel that the issues that they're having were not flagged and were unexpected, come and have that conversation with us. We've got a big team of people, and we'll address and assess that on a case-by-case basis. Clearly, we want to make sure that as many buyers as possible are having the best experience. So it's hard to put a sort of, there's no sort of specific overarching policy. It's very much a case-by-case basis.
So look, yes, there are some lemons amongst them, but on the flip side of that, there are some absolute bargains to be had as well. I'm talking cars that are going for thousands, if not $10,000 less than what you might find anywhere else. Actually, this leads into something you asked, which is, can you actually save money buying at an auction? Well, yeah. For comparison, what I figured we'd do is compare the prices some cars sold for on the day with roughly what you'd be expecting to pay elsewhere on the used market. Take this 2020 Ford Ranger Wildtrak. Now, it's an ex-fleet vehicle and it sold at the auction for a smidge under $36,000. The average price that we found across the classifieds was $46,000. That means it lobbed in at around about $10,000 less than the market average. Or how about this 2008 Audi A4? It sold for about $3,500 at the auction. Its market average, $8,200. How about this hail-damaged 2018 Mazda 6 wagon? Its market average is around about 24 grand, but it sold for less than 16. And the hail damage wasn't all that bad anyway. What about all of those white goods Toyotas that we mentioned? Well, this 2016 Toyota Prado sold for around about $40,000, but its market average, over 50. Then this very recent 2021 RAV4. Now, the used market average you're looking at is close to $36,000. The hammer dropped on this one for a touch over 25 grand. And finally, how about this? A 2013 Mercedes-Benz S400. Now, elsewhere they're being advertised at an average price of around about $53,000. This one, the new owner picked it up for just $33,600. And just a side note on the Merc, imagine paying over $230,000 for this when it was brand new, and now they're averaging around about 50 grand. That means it's lost close to $180,000 in 11 years. That's over $16,000 a year. My God. Okay, let's say you've spotted a car that you really like, it ticks all of the boxes, and you want to have a crack at buying it. Well, then what? Mate, talk me through the process. Let's say I'm total newbie at this. I walk in the front door. What's the process through to driving out of here with a car?
Yeah, so the first thing is you've got to register as a bidder. So you can do that at our front desk if you choose to come into the auction. One of our real USPs here is we do the in-lane auction, so you can come in person like you guys have today. It's a very simple process to register. It takes a few minutes. You can also do it online if you want to. Then you simply come through to the auction lanes. You can inspect all the vehicles while they're running. You can come anytime during the week before the auction and have a look at the cars as well. They're unlocked and available. And then it's a simple process of bidding. You have a strategy behind how much you're willing to bid, and there's a number of things you can do to have the right number in mind. If you are the successful bidder and it sells under the hammer, in other words, you've bid an amount that the vendor is happy with, then you've just got to place your deposit, wait for the funds to clear, and then the car is yours. It's waiting for you in a lane. If a vehicle doesn't get a bid that matches what the vendor or the seller wants, if there is a highest bidder that didn't hit that figure, they get the exclusive right to negotiate with the seller behind the scenes, and a significant number of cars get sold that way. Yep. You know, the seller might have an unrealistic price tag on the vehicle, but they're willing to negotiate behind the scenes to get a deal done as well. Yep. Any vehicles that aren't sold in an auction then go through to a timed auction, which goes for the remainder of the week, and then if they don't sell in that process, they go through the lanes again. And they can go through the lanes a couple of times. Ideally, they go through the first or second time, but sometimes they go through a few more times than that.
Yep. If I can't get here physically, I can buy online as well?
100%. In fact, there are more people on the online simulcast than there are in person, so there'll be a few hundred people here, some dealers, a lot of the public, but there's more people than that every week online. It's a fully, simulcast, so you have a little window where you can watch the car driving through, you can track the bids, and it's a very smooth, sort of easy to operate system. It's a bit of a COVID legacy actually, like we got really good at doing the online simulcast during COVID because we had to, and then reopened the lanes, and we honestly weren't sure what the sort of mix would be. But a lot of our competitors are online only now, and I think it's a real unique selling point for us to have the in-person. But people are time poor now, particularly on the newer stuff where it's lower risk. You may not feel compelled to come and inspect it in person if it's a sort of 2 or 3 year old car with some warranty on it. Often they'll be the cars that are bought and sold online.
Let's say I rock up to bid. Give me some tips on how best to get a good result. What are the do's and don'ts when it comes to actually bidding?
Yeah, so my first recommendation for anyone is work out what your budget is or what car you want, and then just go for it. Bid fast. Make sure you can be seen by the auctioneer. Absolutely, you'd be surprised how many people sort of hide away and we have to find them. But yeah, make sure that you can be clearly seen by the auctioneer. And yeah, just bid with confidence. If you're not clear on anything, you can ask the auctioneer a question. You're more than welcome to do that. Yep.
Is it, from your approach, do you, I suppose, because you'll be seeing the same dealers all the time, but when you see someone that's clearly a member of public, maybe I just noticed it and I'm making it up, but it did seem like you almost kind of slow down a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we do, because this person might come in and buy one car every 4 years, and not everyone's familiar with that process. The auction's rolling along like a cattle auction. It's quite fast. When we see those people, you can see on their face that they just need a little bit of slowing down and describing what we're doing and the benefits of the car and the price that we're at and who's got the bid and who hasn't got the bid. And once we slow it down, people are a lot more comfortable with it.
But let's return to the whole point of this video and to the question that we posed at the start. Should you buy a car at auction? Well, it's important to remember, as we found when we went along, there's such a wide variety of cars to choose from. Yeah, of course, there are going to be some very questionable options going for a few $100, but then there are some ex-fleet cars with faultless service histories, run-of-the-mill family cars with just a little bit of hail damage, through to prestige ex-lease cars, some with a really great service history and others, yeah, with a few question marks. Because many of the people buying at auction are dealers looking to buy stock, quite often they're buying the cars cheap with the intention of fixing a few things up to put them on their lot. That means, if you're up for it that is, you could potentially do the same thing. Buy a car for potentially thousands of dollars less than the market value, fix a few things up on it, and you're still going to come out ahead. Or maybe nothing needs fixing at all and you can just get yourself a bargain. Or maybe you're happy to live with some hail damage. Or maybe you want to buy a cheap donor car for a car you already have. Or maybe you've got a crazy project car in mind. Either way, there are plenty of different cars for plenty of different buyers. Are there any cars that you guys just knock back because they're not good enough? Or do they just end up in salvage? Or how does that work?
Well, literally, we sell cars that are completely burnt out. So they've caught fire, everything's gone, the interior, everything. It's just metal. Yep. We literally sell those for $50, $100, whatever the price of steel is at the time.
At the other end of the spectrum, besides things that are completely burnt out, what's some of the most impressive stuff you've seen come through?
So we sell a lot for financiers, and naturally with financiers, you're going to get high-end prestige. So there was an SL 55 only a couple of weeks ago. It's $350,000.
Basically, the spread of cars at an auction, it's exactly the same as what you'll find on Gumtree or Facebook Marketplace, or really any online classifieds platform, or really even the cars on the side of the road with a for sale sign stuck to the windscreen. There are good ones, there are bad ones. It really comes down to you doing your due diligence to find the really great ones. Our advice, start with looking for cars that are generally considered reliable to begin with. Actually, there's a really good YouTube channel that can help you with that. And then find something with as few kilometers as possible, with the best service history as possible. Try to get a gauge of what kind of life it's led. And as always, try not to stretch the budget too far, because it never hurts to have a few $1,000s spare to fix any potential issues that might need fixing. Keep in mind, buying at auction requires a little bit more research than you might be used to. Jump online, check out what cars are going to be coming down the auction lane on the day, get a gauge of the market value through all of the other car buying channels, and get to know what's considered high and low kilometers for that particular car. And in the case of Manheim, you can just head down to the lot, kick the tires, check inside, maybe even bring a mechanic with you just to check things over. Or maybe go to an auction with no intention to buy, just to see how it all operates. Basically, the more armed with knowledge that you are, the more likely you are to avoid the lemons and maybe even sniff out a real bargain. So we want to know, have you bought a car at auction? Would you buy a car at auction? Why? Why not? Let us know in the comments. See you next time.